All right, so we use it literally every single day, right? For work, for fun, for, well, everything. But have you ever actually stopped and wondered, where did the World Wide Web come from? Because I'm telling you, its origin story is probably not what you're picturing. Okay, so let's just jump right in with a question. Where do you think this whole thing, this world-changing tech, was actually born? Maybe a university lab? Some secret government project? A big tech company? Well, the answer is probably going to surprise you. You can forget all those stories about startups in a garage. Nope. This all kicked off at a particle physics lab, of all places, right on the border of France and Switzerland. So, here we are. Our story starts at CERN. That's the European Organization for Nuclear Research. Picture this. It's the late 1980s. This place is a massive hub for something like 17,000 scientists from all over the world, more than 100 countries. And they all had this one huge problem. How in the world do they share all their data? I mean, just try to imagine it. You're a physicist, maybe you're in your home country, but all your important data is sitting on a computer at CERN. And the people you're working with, they're scattered across, I don't know, a dozen different universities. You absolutely needed a way to share info that was easy, that worked for everyone, and that was fast. The systems they had back then were, well, they were a total mess, just clunky, and they didn't talk to each other. So this problem of connection, it wasn't just an inconvenience. It was a roadblock to real scientific progress. And this is where our main character enters the scene, a British scientist named Tim Berners-Lee. So in March of 1989, he writes up this proposal with a, let's say, very humble title, Information Management Proposal. Doesn't sound like much, right? Well, this little proposal contained an idea that was about to change, well, everything. So what was the big idea? At the heart of his proposal was this really elegant concept called hypertext. The idea was pretty brilliant. Take the internet that already existed and merge it with this newish technology. So instead of just reading a document from top to bottom, you could click on a word, a link, and bam, you'd instantly jump to a totally different document with related info. It would create a web of knowledge. See where this is going? And here's the thing, he didn't just write a paper about it. No way. He, along with a Belgian engineer named Robert Callio, actually rolled up his sleeves and built it. They turned this idea into a real thing. And by the end of 1990, they had a working prototype. The very first web server, the first browser, even the first editor. The web was officially born. Now, when you picture the first web server, you're probably thinking of some giant, humming supercomputer, right? Tucked away in some sterile, climate-controlled room. Nope. The world's very first web server, the machine that held the entire foundation of our digital world, was this single, kind of cool-looking black cube, a Next computer. And this just perfectly captures how humble the beginnings were. The only thing protecting this brand new web from being accidentally shut down by, say, a cleaner or just some random person walking by was this little handwritten note taped to it in red ink. I love that. And that right there, that was its address. The world's very first URL. You know, the first website wasn't selling books or showing off funny cat videos. It was a website about the website project itself. It was basically an instruction manual explaining what this World Wide Web thing was, what hypertext was, and, most importantly, how other people could get involved and set up their own servers. Okay, so the web exists, but it's kind of trapped on this one computer at CERN. So what's the next big hurdle? Getting it out to the rest of the world. I mean, think about it. What's the point of inventing something revolutionary if nobody else can even use it? And there was a huge hurdle. That original browser that Tim Berners-Lee built, it was awesome, super sophisticated. You could even edit web pages with it. But, and this is a big but, it only worked on those expensive Next computers. And almost nobody had one. The web was basically stuck in a fancy, exclusive club. It couldn't go global if people couldn't get in the door. So, the solution, the big breakthrough, came from a pretty unexpected place. A student intern at CERN named Nicola Pello. She built this super simple line mode browser. Let's be honest, it was just text. It was not pretty at all, but it had one absolute killer feature. It could run on pretty much any computer out there. So when they released it out onto the internet in August 1991, that was it. The door to the web was finally kicked wide open for everybody. All right, now we're getting to the real tipping point. The web is out there, Yeah, but it's still kind of this niche thing for scientists and academics. But then, in 1993, two things happened. Two key developments that would take the web from being just a curiosity and turn it into a global phenomenon. Catalyst number one was this piece of software called Mosaic. It came out of the US, and it was the first truly user-friendly browser. I mean, it had windows, you could see images right on the page, and it worked on the computers that normal people actually had, like PCs and Macs. All of a sudden, anyone, and I mean anyone, could just point, click, and surf the web. But the second catalyst, honestly, this one was even bigger. It wasn't a new piece of tech. It was a decision. A single declaration made on one day, April 30th, 1993, that would literally define the entire future of the web. And here it is. This was the moment. CERN made the source code for the World Wide Web available to everyone. They put it in the public domain. They just gave it away for free. No patents, no royalties, nothing. That one act, that single decision, is the reason no single company can ever own or control the web. It was meant to belong to all of us. So you take a super easy-to-use browser like Mosaic, and you combine it with a platform that's completely free and open for anyone to use. What do you get? It was like throwing gasoline on a bonfire. The growth went from, kind of steady to absolutely explosive. It happened so fast that people started calling 1994 the year of the web. Just to give you some perspective here, at the end of 1993, there were a little over 500 web servers in the entire world. Okay, not bad, right? It's a respectable number. It shows something cool is happening. But then, just 1 year later, that number didn't just grow, it exploded. It jumped 20 times to 10,000 servers. And here's the really important part. 2,000 of those were commercial. Business was finally waking up and realizing, hey, there's something to this whole web thing. And get this, by the end of that same year, 1994, the web had an estimated 10 million users. 10 million. It was officially done being a niche tool for physicists. It was now a global force to be reckoned with. So with this amazing, chaotic, explosive growth came a brand new problem, a really big one. How do you keep this thing working for everybody? How do you stop it from just breaking apart into a dozen different versions that don't talk to each other? A Microsoft web, an Apple web, that kind of thing. Well, to solve this, Tim Berners-Lee actually left CERN, and he founded the World Wide Web Consortium. You've probably heard of it as the W3C. Its mission was simple, but absolutely crucial. Act as a kind of neutral guardian for the web, to guide how it grows and make sure it stays one single open standard that works for everyone, forever. When you really look at it, the story of how the web was born is this powerful reminder of where it came from. It wasn't invented to sell us stuff or to build giant corporate empires. It was created as a gift. It came from this spirit of scientific collaboration, this really radical idea of sharing knowledge freely. And that kind of leaves us with a big question for today, doesn't it? When you look at the web now, in our modern, super-connected world, is it still living up to that incredible original promise?